How do wars and emergencies affect free speech and press? And what are some examples?
It's difficult to figure out how war affects free press because it's unclear that the rules are different during war than they are when we're not in war. It's just that the implications seem to be that much larger. So the argument becomes free expression is just as free during war, but if you're going to cause harm, then the harm that you cause, which would be problematic in normal times, is just more likely to exist during wartime. So at least many people make the argument that the free exercise rights that we have really don't change terribly much. The flip side is it sure seems as though they change. To the person who is expressing themselves, who could express themselves in a particular way before a war, but may not necessarily be able to express themselves in the same way during a war because it's deemed to be more problematic and more troubling, that person may well argue it seems as though the rules have changed. Courts don't generally say that there is a clear distinction between wartime and non-wartime. Instead, they tend to talk about the circumstances under which the expression is being made.
Is the press regulated more during wartime?
The press is a good example of arguably not being regulated any differently during wartime. Now, the kinds of things that the press may well want to report may be more problematic. So, for example, folks talk about the prototypical situations where they say, well, the press can't print troop movements before or during a war. Well, actually, one, it's somewhat unclear whether that's the case or not. But if that were the case, that is, if the argument was made that the press is not allowed to talk about troop movements, it wouldn't just be troop movements, it would be that the press wouldn't be allowed to talk about issues related to national security, that relate directly to national security. It's just that that's more likely to be a problem during wartime than otherwise. So it's unclear that war should change the doctrine behind free expression. It's just that the stakes may well be a bit higher, which may make the problem look a little different.